The film begins in an illegal boxing matches bar, specifically inside the fighting ring, and there is a person named Ford inside the ring playing a match and hitting his opponent with very violent strikes. There is a woman named Frankie asking the worker at the bar about the location of Ford. The worker replies to her and tells her that he is the one hitting his opponent inside the ring. She stays to watch Ford, and after Ford manages to overcome his opponent, a person enters the ring to start a new match against Ford, and when this person shows his face to Ford, he becomes afraid of him. He immediately withdraws from the match. We learn that this person was a very famous boxer named Dalton. After Dalton took the betting money and left the place, a man comes up to him and tells him that he lost his money because of him. Suddenly, he stabs Dalton with a knife in his side, and Dalton is very calm with him and asks him to leave immediately instead of hurting him. This man gets scared and runs away quickly. Dalton goes to the car and takes out gauze to treat the wound. Frankie comes and introduces herself to him and notices the knife in his side, so she asks him to go to a hospital, but he refuses and makes her hold the tape he has. After Dalton is able to treat the wound, Frankie tells him that she wants him to come work for her in her bar because gangs come every day and smash the place and cause trouble. She also tells him that she was very impressed with him and his abilities when she saw Ford running away from him. Dalton tells her that he is not free and does not want to work for anyone and tells her to go offer this offer to Ford. Before he leaves with the car, Frankie stops him and gives him her number in case he changes his mind. After Frankie leaves, Dalton sleeps in the car because he doesn't have a house and his financial situation is very bad. A policewoman comes and knocks on the car window and asks Dalton to leave because parking is prohibited in this place. Dalton listens and leaves, and on the road he is playing boxing matches on the radio and listening, and it is clear that he is sad. So Dalton decides to go stand in front of the train tracks and kill himself, but at the last moment he decides to continue his life, starts the car, and tries to run before the train hits him. Indeed, he is able to move, but unfortunately his car is destroyed from behind. He decides to go work in Frankie's bar. The next morning, he takes the bus that will transport him to the city where the bar is. When he arrives at the address, he looks for where the bar is, and a girl named Charlie, sitting in front of her father's bookstore, sees him. Dalton introduces himself to her that he is not from the area and came to work. Charlie stands up and gives him a book as a gift. Stephen, Charlie's father, comes out of the shop, and Stephen gets to know Dalton and tells him the location of the bar. Dalton thanks them and goes to the place described to him. When he arrives at the bar, Frankie sees him and tells him that she did not expect that he would come and tells him that he will start work now if he likes. Dalton agrees and goes to get to know Laura and Billy who work with him, and he sits looking at the place and finds it a natural and quiet place. Night comes and problems start in the place, and Dalton is sitting watching and does not want to intervene because he knows that these are normal problems. So Billy comes and drives away the people fighting outside the place. But not much time passes, and a gang of motorcycle riders comes and enters the bar. The leader of this group is named Dell. Literally, this Dell starts smashing the whole place. Dalton is sitting watching as usual and does not want to intervene. So Billy comes and tries to intervene and asks Dell and his gang to leave the place, but they gather around him and were going to hit him. Here Dalton appears and enters and asks them very calmly to leave the place without trouble, but Dell annoys him more and starts smashing the place. So he asks them if the motorcycles outside are theirs and goes outside. He is able to draw the whole gang behind him, and everyone present stands to watch what will happen. Dalton starts hitting Dell and the rest of his gang and is able to hit them very violently. Dalton defeats them alone and notices that he caused them serious injuries, so he takes Frankie's car and goes to take them to the hospital. When they arrive, a nurse named Ellie sees them. She talks with Dalton before he leaves. At first, she fights with him because he hits people from the city, and at the same time, she thanks him because he hit the gang men. She notices the wound in his side and tells him to come with her inside the hospital so she can change the dressing for him. Dalton enters the hospital and lets her treat him. Ellie asks him to stitch the wound, but he refuses and thanks her and leaves. Dalton returns to the bar again, and Frankie gives him $5,000 from his salary and thanks him because he defended them and the shop. They talk a little together, and Frankie tells Dalton that she has a boat where he can sleep, but to be careful because the sea has a savage crocodile. Dalton goes to this boat and sleeps and dreams of memories of the past, a boxing match in the World Championship. But Laura comes and wakes him up and gives him food to eat breakfast and go to work. Dalton thanks her. After he finishes eating, he goes to Stephen's bookstore. During his way, he sees that all the people are greeting him and knew him from what happened last night. He enters Stephen's shop and finds Charlie there. He asks for help from her because he wants to search for things on the internet. She takes him and sits him at a computer in the place. At this time, Charlie notices two thieves stealing money from a man and threatening that they will finish him off. Charlie takes her stick and goes out to fight with these two and orders them to leave the place immediately. At this time, Dalton hears her shouting, so he goes out to see what is happening. When these two see him, they are afraid of him and leave immediately. Dalton sits with Charlie and asks where her parents are. She tells him that her mother passed away a year ago and her father works another job so he can spend on her. Afterwards, we go to the leader of the gang that Dalton hit, and his name is Brant. He is on his yacht in the middle of the sea. Brant learns from his men that they were hit by only one person, and currently Del is in the hospital because he has a concussion. Brant gets angry at them and orders them to leave from in front of him immediately. At this time in the bar, there is a problem between two people. Dalton notices that one has a knife hidden in his clothes. He tells Billy to intervene and teaches him a few moves to go break them up. Indeed, Billy goes to intervene and breaks up those who are fighting. But suddenly one raises the knife at Billy. Billy follows Dalton's instructions and does exactly what he told him. Indeed, he finds himself hitting the man. This man tries to stab Billy with the knife, but Dalton comes and prevents him and makes him go outside. After that, Dalton goes to a person named Reef. Dalton notices the marks on Reef's hand and knows he is a former fighter. Dalton offers him to work in the bar with Billy and kick out the customers who cause trouble. In return, he will take a good salary. Reef agrees, and we see Reef and Billy working together and kicking out all the customers who cause chaos in the bar. After a few days, Dalton goes out to stand in front of the bar from the outside and sees Brant's gang standing and looking at him. They sit looking at him for some time, and then they leave the place. Dalton then returns to the boat and sleeps and dreams of the same old memory of the boxing match. When he wakes up from sleep, he goes to a restaurant to eat and meets Ellie the nurse in this restaurant. She talks with him and he asks her about the situation of the people in the city and asks her why they are always fighting. Where is the police? Ellie tells him that the police in the city do not intervene in any crime except every now and then because the police in the city are afraid of the gangs. As for the people, they are very aggressive, and if they want to take something from someone, they take it by force. We find that there are looks of admiration between the two. Night comes and Dalton goes to the bar and Frankie gives him the salary for the new week. After that, Dalton decides to leave, but a car comes up on him on the road and hits him, but he gets in the trunk of the car. The car hits the bridge on the road and falls into the water. The one who was driving it manages to escape and leaves Dalton in the water. It appears that the one who was driving the car was Del and his girlfriend. Fortunately, Dalton comes out alive and gets out of the water and returns to the boat to sleep. Surprise is that Del appears waiting for him in the boat and raises the weapon at him. Del confesses to him that he is the reason for the accident that happened to him. Dalton speaks very calmly, but suddenly hits him with the table, and Dalton is able to throw him into the water under the boat. Del tells him that he will finish him off if he comes up. He tries to come up, but suddenly a crocodile appears from the water and finishes off Del. Dalton stands in shock from what happened. The next day, Dalton reports to the police, and they come to the place and search for Del's body. A person comes to talk with Dalton and informs him that Del is one of a drug gang and is considered the right hand of the leader. Afterwards, we see Dalton while he is in the library with Charlie and makes her show him a picture of the city map. Dalton wants to see the map to know where the drug gangs are located in the city. He sees a specific place in the sea and expects that he might find the gang of Del in this place. Charlie tells him that it is impossible for the gang to be in this place because this place is not deep and there are many coral reefs, so they might get stuck in the boat they are moving in and stop. After that, Dalton goes out to the street and is met by one of Brant's men who tells him that his boss Brant wants to meet him and orders him to get in the car with him. Dalton tells him that he will not go to anyone and that if his leader wants to meet him, he should come to him. This gang member threatens him with the pistol and tells him that if he doesn't get in, he will have to kill him. Dalton goes to talk to him calmly and suddenly grabs his fingers and breaks them for him. Another one of Brant's men comes, but he is afraid to intervene and takes his friend and they leave. We see him at Brant's on his yacht and they tell Brant that they were hit by him for the second time. Brant gets angry at them. Here it is revealed that he is trying to ruin Frankie's bar so he can buy it from her and build it as a tourist resort for the rich. Brant gets a call from prison and the caller is his father. His father insults him because he tasked him to take the bar from Frankie as soon as possible. Brant gets angry at him and throws the phone in the water. We go to a person named Knox and Brant's father calls him and asks him to help his son in taking the bar by any means. After that, we see Ellie and Dalton while they are sitting together on the island beach. Ellie asks about Dell and the reason that made him throw him to the crocodile. Dalton tells her that he didn't throw him to the crocodile and tells her about the reason for the fight and tells her that he is the one who started. He also informs her that he discovered that this Dell is from the men of a dangerous gang leader and that his name is Brant. Ellie tells him that she knows Brant and tells him that his family are the ones who built all the real estate in the city. Dalton speaks and asks her that they return. She asks him if she annoyed him in something. Dalton informs her that he is not annoyed, but he is not suitable for her and she must choose someone else. She confesses to him that she loves him and wants him. Dalton is happy when he hears these words. On the other side, we see Knox arrived in the city and goes to Brant's men and waits for Brant until he returns. When Brant comes, Knox introduces himself to him and tells him that his father is the one who sent him to help him in the problems he has and also sent him a gift with him. Suddenly, Knox hits him in his face and tells him that this is from his father. Brant gets angry at him and tells him that he doesn't want help and orders him to leave, but Knox does not give him any attention and asks him about the guard who annoys him. Brant shows him the place and tells him that he does not need recklessness and asks him not to go shoot at him in the middle of the city. Brant asks him to give him a chance and he will finish him off in his own way. Knox agrees. At this time, Dalton returns to the boat where he lives and finds two policemen asking him to go with them to meet the mayor of the city. Ellie was watching all that is happening from afar. After that, Dalton arrives at the mayor named Dick. Dick says and tells him that the city here is all one hand, and if something happens to anyone, they all defend him, and that he is not welcome among them and orders that he leaves the city. Dalton tells him that he will not leave the city. Dick threatens that he will put him in prison for any reason. Dalton keeps laughing at his words and tells him to do what he wants. Dick gets angry and asks the policeman to get Dalton down from the car and hit him. Dick comes to finish him off with the pistol, but suddenly Ellie appears. Dick lowers his weapon and Ellie goes to take Dalton from among them and hits Mayor Dick with a slap. The mayor is unable to speak to her. When she walks away, she tells Dalton that this mayor is her father, but she doesn't love him because he works with Brant and his father. Ellie asks him to leave the city so no one hurts him. At this time at Charlie's, we see two of Brant's men entering the bookstore with a jerrycan of gasoline. On the same day at night, we go to Dalton while he is in the bar, and we see Brant going to Dalton and introducing himself to him and sitting with him. He asks him why he doesn't want to leave the city and offers him to take any amount he wants and leave, but Dalton gives him no attention and doesn't even reply to him. Brant takes out his phone. He shows Dalton a video of him while he was in a boxing match, and Dalton kept hitting him until he killed him. This was despite the fact that the one against him had surrendered, and he kept hitting him until he died. This is the same bad memory that Dalton dreams of every day when he sleeps, but Dalton remains calm and doesn't reply to Brant. Brant gets annoyed and goes outside the bar. At this time, Knox is standing waiting for him outside. Brant tells Knox to go in and finish his mission. Knox takes all the gang men and enters the bar and keeps smashing everything. He causes a big chaos. Billy and Reef try to intervene and make Knox leave, but he hits them both. 3 people come and hold Knox until they hit Billy, but Knox is much stronger than them and hits them all. Chaos starts in the bar, and Knox keeps calling Dalton in a loud voice and asks him to come fight him. Dalton comes and speaks very calmly as he always does. Knox understands Dalton's way, so he doesn't give him a chance. Knox attacks him first and lands powerful punches on him, but Dalton defends himself and hits him. A fierce fight begins between them, and they are both almost at the same level until one from the gang holds Dalton and Knox keeps hitting him. Two city residents come and defend Dalton, and they hold Knox and tie him up until Dalton is able to free himself from the man holding him. A second fight begins between them, but Dalton is tired from the many injuries that became in his whole body and he is not able to face. Knox is able to throw Dalton outside the bar. Dalton doesn't speak and walks away from the place defeated. At this time, Ellie arrives at the place and tries to stop Dalton and talk to him, but he doesn't reply to her and walks away silent. He goes to the boat and packs his clothes and all his belongings to leave, but Frankie comes and keeps begging him to stay with them and tells him that Brant wants to drive her out of the bar. She tells him that he took all the shops and real estate in the area's land and nothing is left but her bar and also Stephen's shop, and that he wants to demolish all this to build a tourist resort for the rich. But Dalton still leaves without speaking. Frankie asks him if they scared and threatened him, and that's why he's scared and leaving. He tells her that they scared him and he leaves. He goes to Stephen's shop to say goodbye to Charlie, but he is surprised by people present in the place instead of Stephen and Charlie. He is told that they are now in the hospital. He is told who did this, so he decides that he will stay in the city to take revenge for Charlie and her father. The first thing he does is go to the headquarters where Brant's gang gathers and tells him that he was already going to leave the city, but after what they did with Charlie and her father, he will stay. He tells him that he was also going to leave because he was afraid, but he was not afraid of them, but he was afraid of what would happen if someone made him angry. One of them tries to stab Dalton with a knife, but Dalton dodges and hits him a single blow that makes him die instantly. At this time, a person Dalton had hit before appears. He asks Dalton about Brant's location. This person tells him that he doesn't know, but he knows that Brant made a meeting at sunrise and tells him specifically it will be at 5 in the morning because he will receive a lot of money from people. Dalton returns again to rest a bit and sleeps and dreams of the same memory of the match day. When he wakes up, it's 5 o'clock and he goes to the sea and finds a helicopter dropped a bag of money for a policeman. The policeman takes it and goes to put them in the boat and enters the sea with them. Dalton sneaks behind the policeman and hits him, and he loses consciousness. When the policeman wakes up, he finds Dalton has tied him up and puts the body of the man he killed last night for him and tells him that he will frame him for the crime. Dalton takes the bag of money and moves to the nearest phone in the street and reports a civilian killing and gives them the address. Then he returns to his boat and is making a large amount of bombs. At this moment, Dick comes to him and asks for his help because Brant kidnapped his daughter Ellie and threatens that he will kill her. He also told him that he kidnapped her because of the theft of his money and that he must return his money to him or help him at least to return her. Dalton tells him that he will bring out the money from his hiding place and will follow him. After a while, Dalton brings the bag and goes to steal a boat from Ellie's former lover. Dalton arrives at Brant's place and ties the boat to the ship and goes to talk with Brant. Dick is present, and Dalton finds them sitting joking together. He tells the mayor that it seems his daughter is not kidnapped and that he is laughing at him. The mayor tells him that indeed Ellie is not kidnapped and that they lured him to them to finish him off. At this moment, Brant speaks and tells Dick that indeed Ellie is kidnapped and that he was not joking. Dick gets angry and stands up shouting at him. Dalton keeps laughing and tells them that he will not leave until they finish their talk. When Dalton comes to leave, he finds Knox arrived at the yacht. Brant orders his men not to let Knox get on his yacht. Before Knox arrives by a bit, Dalton takes out a button and activates the explosives he made and makes the boat explode. Dalton takes advantage of the fact that everyone was injured by the explosives and goes looking for Ellie until he is able to find her and breaks the yacht's glass, and they both come out. He makes her go ride the lifeboat that is present, but when Ellie goes, she finds Brant inside it, and he kidnaps her again. Knox tries to run over Dalton with his boat, but Dalton is able to hold onto the boat and goes up on it and drops Knox into the sea. Dalton runs after Brant with the boat until Brant sees him and decides to turn and hit him. Brant is able to hit Dalton a severe hit and makes him flip from his boat. Dalton is able to go down into Brant's boat. Dalton keeps hitting Brant until he notices that they will hit Frankie's bar. He and Ellie jump into the water. And Brant crashes and flies to a high place. We see that Knox was able to come out of the sea and went to steal a car from the road. It appears that Brant is still alive and Dalton was going to kill him, but suddenly Knox comes with the car and hits Dalton. Dalton stands and starts a fight with Knox. Knox is able to hit Dalton with great violence. Dalton defends himself and hits Knox, but he doesn't continue for long. Knox returns to control him again and stabs Dalton in the belly. When Brant sees Dalton in this state, he orders Knox to finish him off. Knox gets angry at him and goes to break Brant's neck. Knox then goes to finish off Dalton and brings another piece of wood to kill him with. But Dalton stands up and takes out the wood stuck in his belly and stabs Knox with it in every part of his body until Knox falls. Ellie comes and is shocked from what happened. Mayor Dick comes and tells Dalton to leave the city because there is no one left to annoy Frankie. He tells him that he will improve his file and will not leave anything on him. Dalton listens to him and leaves. We see Frankie in the bar that was destroyed from the fight, and she decides that she will repair the shop and start a new page. Dalton is taking all his belongings and going to ride the bus, but before he rides, Charlie comes and says goodbye to him. Then he rides the bus and leaves. When Stephen enters the shop, he finds a bag with a lot of money. This is the bag that Dalton stole from the gang. Stephen tries to catch him, but Dalton has already left. Knox appears in the hospital and smashes many things and leaves the hospital. The film ends. If you liked the video, don't forget to like the video and subscribe.